Hi students, welcome back to Wisdom Academy YouTube page. In the previous video, I have just given the introduction of 11th class. I should not say 11th class, rather I gave introduction about physics. I just told you what is physics. I told you how can we divide the physics into 4 different parts based upon the size and the speed of the particle. I told you what is quantum field theory, what is quantum mechanics, what is relativistic mechanics, and what is classical mechanics. So I hope you have seen the complete video and you have got the pure idea about what are the fundamental forces in the nature, where I talked about 4 different forces, that is gravitational force, weak nuclear force, strong nuclear force, and electrostatic force. So I tried to make it as simple as possible. If you have seen the complete video, then you would have understood that very interesting it's going to be for the entire journey, the whole 11th and 12th journey of physics. And I said you, the way you used to study science till your 10th standard is not going to be in 11th and 12th. So now we are going to learn the application part of whatever physics you studied in your 10th standard. In 10th you studied about electricity, in 10th you studied about magnetic force, electric current, in 10th you studied about light, you studied about human eye. These are actually part of 12th physics. In 9th you studied about motion, laws of motion, force, gravitation, work, energy and power, sound, everything will come in 11th. So I hope your teacher would have told you. If not, now I am telling you that whatever you have studied in the 9th standard is going to amplify and come in 11th. Whatever you studied in 10th standard is going to get amplified and come into 12th. So those, if you are feeling yourself that I was not much strong in my 9th portion of physics, my suggestion is, if you have time, spend at least 10 hours to go through all the concepts of 9th physics. Because 9th, if you are strong, I can assure you it will help you in even 11th physics, right? So some people, they are wondering, sir, tell me the syllabus what I am going to study. Let me tell you, you are going to study the macroscopic physics in 11th. When I am saying macroscopic physics, it means bigger particles. When I write microscopic, it means smaller particles. For example, when you study about atoms, you study about nuclei, you study about dual nature of radiation, matter, these things will come under microscopic physics. That will come mostly in 12th standard. So you study about microscopic physics in 12th and macroscopic physics will come in 11th. What are the chapters? First chapter officially will be units and measurements, though we have physical world before this, but physical world is just the introduction about physics. Units and measurements will be there, and then you will have motion in one dimension, you will have motion in plane, then you will have laws of motion, you will have work, energy and power, you will have system of particles, and rigid bodies, you will have gravitation, mechanical properties of solid, mechanical properties of fluid, long list, yeah, still it goes. Then you will have kinetic theory of gas, you also have thermal properties of matter, you have thermodynamics, and then you have optics. Both the optics you will have, wave optics is there, ray optics is there, you also have oscillations. Actually optics mainly will come in 12th, so I should write waves and oscillations, that is more easy for me to write. waves and oscillations. This will be the chapter wise distribution for 11th. Some schools they even teach ray optics. CBSE is recommended to teach ray optics in 11th, but even then it comes even in 12th. 12th physics I am not going to talk today, we will learn when you go to 12th. So 11th, these are the chapters. So can you see it is huge, long list, but don't get afraid, it is very interesting, and throughout this entire journey you will find that you are learning new things, and please maintain the interest. You will be able to see that it is very much interesting. So units and measurements, you will learn about the basic units and how to measure different quantities. Here mainly they will be talking about SI units, they will be talking about dimensional quantity. So they will be talking about SI units, they will be talking about dimensional quantity, dimensions, they will be talking about error analysis. You have motion, one dimension, two dimension, which you studied in 9th standard. So what do you studied in 9th standard? Equations of motions were there. Then you had graphical representation. Then you have basics you learned about scalar quantity and vector quantity. This chapter will teach you vectors in much detail. This vectors will be useful in math also. So please remember that this chapter you learn about vectors more. Motion in one dimension will be pure 9th level of motion, but here additionally you will have some integral method of finding the equations of motion and concept of relative motion. Laws of motion chapter, you will be learning about all the 3 laws in much detail, not like what you studied in 10th, just the first law, second law and third law, where first law was any object in state of rest or motion will remain in same state until or unless external unbalanced force acts on it. Second law of motion is rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force, and third law is every action has an equal and opposite reaction. As simple, but it is not that simple. So here you learned about different frames of reference, inertial frame of reference, non-inertial frame of reference, and all these laws with a lot of concepts. Then you will have work, energy and power, where you will learn about what is work and what are the basic theories behind work. You will learn about conservative and non-conservative forces. You will learn about different energies and you will derive the formula of potential energy, kinetic energy. And for you potential energy was only mgh, but you will learn here that potential energy is not only mgh is just the gravitational potential energy. We have something called as elastic potential energy, we have something called as electric potential energy. Those things you will be learning, and in power we will learn about what is power. Then system of particles and rigid bodies, also known as rotational mechanics, you will learn about the mechanics of rigid bodies. When I say rigid bodies, see whenever you will learn about motion in one dimension, two dimension, you will assume the body which is moving, that body which is moving will be considered as a particle. It will be considered as a particle. When I say particle, it means the dimension of the body is much smaller compared to what distance the body is covering. So suppose I move for 1000 kilometers, then I can be considered as a particle. But if I am moving just from here to here, then I cannot be considered as a particle because I have moved very less distance. So if an object is covering a larger distance compared to its own size, that object can be treated as a particle. When the same object is covering a lesser distance with respect to its size, it cannot be considered as a particle. So in rigid bodies you will learn about how the motion happens in for rigid bodies, and especially rotational motion. I can make you understand in a more simpler way. Suppose this is the object, and if I talk about this point and this body is moving like this, so if you see, this point is considered as a particle. But if I see the whole pen, when it moves, that is a rigid body movement. So okay, when we reach there we will talk in detail. So if you are not concentrating in this chapter, now itself I am telling you, you will struggle here. So I have seen in my career many students who have not taken this chapter seriously have struggled till the end, and if they are preparing for engineering or medical examinations, they will leave this topic itself. So my suggestion to you is, right from the beginning, concentrate on this topic and learn it with full confidence. Okay, next, this gravitation, most interesting and most easy, easy kind of, and In this chapter, you will learn about the Newton's law of gravitation. You will learn about small g, how it comes of different places, what is the value of g, on what factors the small g depends. You will learn about Kepler's law. You will learn about orbital velocity and other things. Then come the mechanical properties of solids and fluids. So, this chapter will be one of the again easiest chapter in this syllabus, very small chapter having less weightage even. So, here you will learn about basics, like you learn about what is elasticity. Yeah, concept of elasticity is not as easy as you are thinking. Shall I ask one question on elasticity? Okay, very simple question. What is more elastic in rubber and steel? Think about it, I will answer you when I teach this topic. Okay. Next is mechanical properties of fluid, where you will learn about different fluid properties like viscosity, surface tension, capillarity, those things will come. Then you will have kinetic theory of gas. Actually, this will come below this. First you will have thermal properties of matter, then you will have thermodynamics, then only kinetic theory will come. Thermal properties of matter, you will learn about conductivity of heat, you will learn about various laws here, you will learn about even Newton's law of cooling and all the stuffs related to heat. Calorimetry will be there in this. Then you will have thermodynamics, where you will learn about the heat in motion, and here you will have Carnot engine, you will have different cycles, and here you will have refrigeration concepts, you will have thermodynamics laws, first law, second law, zeroth law, and then you will move to kinetic theory of gases, where you will find what is the kinetic energy of the gas particles they are moving. Then finally you will learn about waves and oscillations, and you will get dead tired when you reach this chapter, and it is really interesting, where you will learn about different kinds of waves. You will learn about beat, resonance, you will learn about organ pipes. I do not want to take more technical names now because you will be unfamiliar with that, but yeah, it comes. So, when we will reach here, cooperate with me, we will reach soon. So, today I am going to give you a gist about this chapter. So, today's my topic will be starting the first chapter of physics, that is units and measurements. So, my dear students, take the notebook, take the note, take the pen and start making the notes, because now we are going to start the first chapter of physics, that is units and measurement. So, let us enter into the topic units and measurement, which is the first chapter in terms of marks, second chapter in terms of the number of the chapter, where you will learn about what are the physical quantities, what are the different types of quantities, what are the different types of units, and you will learn about errors, how to find the errors. You will learn about dimensions and how to find the dimensions of various quantities. So, first topic is physical quantities. What are physical quantities? Physical quantity is any quantity which can be measured is called as physical quantity. So, suppose a mass of an object is 20 kg. So, mass is a physical quantity because it can be measured. Length of the wire is 20 centimeter. Length becomes a physical quantity which can be measured. So, all the quantities which can be measured and related in terms of different laws of physics, they are called as physical quantities. So, the quantities which can be measured directly or indirectly and that has some relation, or we can draw some relation by those quantities of different laws of physics, that quantities are known as physical quantities. Basically, physical quantities are of two types, that is fundamental quantities and derived quantities. Fundamental quantities and derived quantities. So, what is the meaning of fundamental quantity? Fundamental quantities will be those quantities which cannot be further simplified into smaller units. I will tell you what is the meaning of that. Suppose you take mass. Now, mass is a quantity which cannot further broken into small part. What is the meaning of broken into small part? I will tell you. Suppose I take velocity. Now, what is velocity? Velocity is displacement per unit time. So, velocity can be broken down into two different fragments, isn't it? So, displacement will have a unit meter, time will have a unit second, meter per second is velocity, but this time, can it be further broken down? Displacement, can it be broken down further? No. So, they are the fundamental quantities. So, what are the fundamental quantities? Which cannot be broken down into further simpler parts, and they are the most basic units. We cannot make it further basic. Most simplest form of unit is called as fundamental or fundamental quantities. So, there are 7 fundamental quantities basically. What are those 7 quantities? Mass, then you have length, you have time, you have temperature, then you have luminous intensity, you have amount of substance, and I think it is current. So these are the most basic 7 fundamental quantities. So these are the basic fundamental quantities. Derived quantities, how many are there? Infinite, because lot of quantities, for example velocity I have written. For example, if you write force, then force will be equal to mass into acceleration. Again, mass will have its own mass is a fundamental quantity. Acceleration will be further divided into velocity by time, isn't it? V minus u by t, and then again velocity will have something. So this force becomes a derived quantity. Like that there are n number of quantities which will be formed somewhere by combination of these fundamental quantities and will be called as derived quantities. Okay. Then next topic is system of units. So this thing, I know the students till 10th standard you were least bothered about the units. So what for you units, you will say, I will ask, so what is the answer? Sir, 40. I will say 40. What is 40? 40 mangoes or 40 apple? Sir, 40 kg. You never bother about this kg, meter, seconds, which is very much important, because if you don't tell any quantity with its unit, then that quantity is not giving you any information itself. So to give the proper information of any quantity, you must tell its unit also. So if I say you, the height of the mountain is 20, does it convey any meaning? I should say 20 meters or 20 kilometers or whatever it so be. So this meter will be the unit. Units, there are a lot of units. For example, we have CGS unit, we have FPS unit, we have MKS unit, and now what we use is SI unit. What is the meaning of CGS unit? C means centimeter, G means gram, S means second. So centimeter, gram, second units. It was found by France. So they used this unit first time, and the French people developed this. Then British people, they made FPS system, still they follow. F is foot, P is pound, and S is second. Then comes our MKS, which was again found by French people, and where M becomes meter, K becomes kg, and S becomes second. So MKS system was actually much accepted, and then came the SI, which is System D internationally. Now this is actually Italian word, and System D internationally is SI unit, or you can say International System of Unit. Here, similar to MKS, for mass we use kg, for length we use meter, for time we use second, and if I write about other fundamental quantities, so for temperature we use Kelvin, for luminous intensity we use candela, for amount of substance we use mole, and for current we use ampere. So I have written the SI unit of all the fundamental quantities. So this is the SI unit of fundamental quantities. I will repeat once again. The SI unit of the fundamental quantities are: for mass it is kg, for length it is meter, second for time, temperature is measured in Kelvin, luminous intensity is in candela, amount of substance is in mole, and current is in amperes. So I am giving you one homework now. All of you are having internet facilities. all of you are having books in your home. So what I expect you from you is, you will tell me what is mass, or I should say like this: mass, you will say the amount of matter in body. I will say what is kg, what is meter, what is second. What is kg? It is a unit of mass? No. There is a significance of this kg. Somewhere how they found this 1 kg, how they related to other things, there is some logic behind that. So you will browse about this and you will tell me what is the meaning of 1 kg or 1 meter or 1 Kelvin or 1 ampere or all these things. So you will browse about it, or you will read from different books, and I want you to comment in the comment section, or when you come for the physical class, I want you to tell me in person what is the meaning of kg, meter, second, Kelvin, mole, ampere and candle. So in today's class, we have seen what we are going to study in 11th. I have told you that we are going to study the different chapters, and I just gave a brief introduction about all the chapters also. I started the first unit of physics, first official unit of physics, that is units and measurement. I told you what are physical quantities, what is fundamental unit, what is derived unit, the 7 fundamental units. I told what are those fundamental units, and then I talked about system of units, where it is CGS, FPS, MKS and SI, right. So in the next video, I will be talking further things. Please like the video, share with your friends and subscribe our channel. Thank you.